I'm inspired by all great artists from Miro to Basquiat,
You have to.
even local artists, local friends like, Wasine Khosrow,
Hmm.
Ethiopian artists, really good people.
Yeah, here local
I'm inspired
artists.
by your art.
Mhm.
I see you, I see your strokes, and I feel the freedom in which you're exercising yourself. That takes skill. A lot of people, you can tell an artist from the stroke.
Give me the paint, give me the chalk, give me the urban artist talk. Conversations from the heart, from the start we set apart. Art a la carte. Now check it.
I'm your host, Andre Jahmora, aka Natty Rebel, and we're here at the Bay Area Mural Program headquarters, BAMP for short. And the guest today is super special. I'm honored to have him in the building. He is not only just an artist, a partner at Oak Stop, he is a Renaissance man. He's also the president of the board of directors of the Bay Area Mural Program. So we are super happy to have him here. Welcome, Abba Yahudah.
Thank you. That was a great introduction.
Yeah,
Well, it's very good to be here to be a part of this groundbreaking podcast that you're using right now as a platform and a format that we need to explore on various levels, because I think whenever we get together, me and you, we always grounding the energy, man, and it's always like fire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like the energy needs to be recorded.
it needs to be documented.
Yeah, it needs to be documented. So I'm glad that you took the initiative to do this.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I'm super glad that you, with open arms, decided to come and, just bless us with your energy.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're going to jump right into it here at the Bay Area Mural Program headquarters. It's really all about art, public art, private art, commissioned art, graffiti, everything that has to do with street art, and really just how artists connect to the community. Some of it you're going to like, some of it you don't like. We're here to discuss all that today on the podcast. So, Abba, one of my first questions for you is, just based off of early inspiration, as a child, was there any moments or even early in your career that really stood out to you and said, you know what, I want to make my path as an artist?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I made this vow early in life. I probably was about 7 years young, growing up in Jamaica, and I was named after my father's only brother, who is an amazing artist. And so he was living in America at that time, and I was living in Jamaica.
Yeah.
But I think one of the turning points in my life was I was about 7 years young, and one of my father's friend came over to the house, and my father was explaining to him that I could draw. And so immediately I ran into the house and got my portfolio, which was like I think it was an old Oral Roberts album,
Mhm.
which put all my all my drawings inside
That
of
was the
that.
portfolio.
That was my portfolio. So
Nice.
I got my album jacket and start pulling out my drawings. And he was looking at my drawings and he was like, "Wow, this is impressive." And he's like, "Oh, you're gonna be an artist when you grow up." And I asked him at that moment, I was like, can you draw that? And he said, "No."
Hmm.
He says, "You're gifted." He says, "I can't do this."
Hmm.
I said, "So why am I not an artist now?"
Woohoo! When you grow up.
I was
All
like, "Why am I not an artist now?"
right.
So that was something that registered in my life as a point where I claimed it.
Yeah.
I claimed it early. So, at that moment, I'm like, I don't have to grow up to be an artist. I am an artist now. And
love that.
so that was one point. And then the other point was I was in America at this point. But growing up in Jamaica, seeing my uncle coming back and forth to Jamaica every year, and knowing that he was in America making his living from art, from what he loves to do,
Mhm.
I decided that I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm going to make my money from art as
Right.
well. So I finally came to America and was working with my uncle in the same advertising agency in Manhattan. I was going into my 7th year, and my uncle was going into his 21st year.
Wow.
Two pivotal numbers for me. And I was like sitting in my office and I realized that I was successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I was about 24, 25 years young. And I was like, wow, you're successful. You know, here you are, you're working with your uncle like you dreamt of when you were a child.
Yeah.
And that was like a marker in my life to say, wow, I have achieved this. So I walked over to my uncle's office, you know, and I said, let me and you go do this for ourselves. You know, you've been doing this for these people.
And what kind of work were you doing with
At
your
that
uncle?
time, I was working as an art director, graphic designer, and illustrator
Graphic
at
design.
Merchandising Workshop in
Okay.
Manhattan, 43rd Street between 10th and 11th Avenue. So I walked into his office, and he's the one that gave me the foot into that workspace, because I used to go visit him all the time
Yeah.
while I was going into art school, doing all of these kind of things. I was still connected to my uncle. You know, he's the only uncle I have. So when I finally started working with him, it was definitely a point of reckoning. Like, I was in my office one day and I was like, dude, you're successful. You're working with your uncle.
You made it.
You made it.
Yeah.
Right? So now to really make it would be to go do this for ourselves. Let
Yeah.
me and you now do this advertising agency together. You
Right.
know? And when I mentioned that to him, he looked at me and he smiled, you know, like a crooked smile, like his father smile, you know. And he says, I'm not young like you. I have alimony, palimony, and mortgage. I can't make no move.
Yeah.
That was another
Pivotal moment.
pivotal moment in my life. And I was like, wow, the mentorship ends here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't ever want to ever have to say what you just said.
Yeah.
You know,
Always want to grow.
I always want to gamble on me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not going to, because I already vowed that this was my last job. I wasn't going to be working in corporate America for another year.
Yeah.
7 years was my limit. And from henceforth, and, you know, I decided that I was going to not quit that job. And 6 months after that, we got laid off. My uncle was devastated. And I was...
And this is in New York. This is
was
Manhattan.
this is in Manhattan. I was
Yeah.
liberated because I was like, wow.
And what year was that?
This was 1994.
1994. Wow.
You know, this is 1994. And that was the end of it. And so I moved on with my life. You know, I haven't worked.
And when did you start, I wouldn't say freelancing, but when did you start working more independent to where you weren't working for a firm, but just more or less doing
Since 1994.
from that time since?
Yes. I was just saying I didn't want to quit the job. I was going to have to be let go. But I
Yeah.
wasn't going to just quit, because
I
if I
feel you.
quit, I wouldn't get any unemployment or anything like that. And I had never received unemployment in all my years working in America. And so this was going to be the time. And when they kind of told me how much that was going to be, and then I had to continue to be showing them that I'm looking for work, I was like, I can't get unemployment because I'm not looking for work.
Yeah.
You know, so I
You
sat,
create the work.
yes. So I sat in my house, you know, and going deeper into Rastafari
Yeah.
at that time,
True.
you know, and that 1994 was another marker for me, because that marked the time of my own independence and my own freedom. And since then, I have been working in my own passion. And that means I have retired since 1994. I have not worked a day since 1994.
I love it. And that brings me to around the time when I was introduced to your work. So coming out of college, same way, really heavy into the Rastafari movement. I moved up to New York and was seeing my passions starting to come to a pinnacle. My love for art and my love for the Rastafari movement and the culture. And right there at that pinnacle is where I found your artwork.
Yes.
You understand? So, you know, for people that aren't familiar with Abba Yahudah's artwork, you can, you know, it's prevalent throughout Jamaica, New York, here on the West Coast, you know, abroad. I know you've done artwork on the, you know, the Jamrock cruise with the Marley brothers and, you know, work everywhere. So as a young man coming into my own, and moving up to New York City and chasing my art dreams and passions, you were the first person the first person's artwork that I gravitated to where I was like, yes, this speaks to me. But I couldn't quite catch up with you. It was like everywhere I was going, I would go to New York, I would see the man's work, but I never met him in New York. I went to Ethiopia, see the man's work all throughout Ethiopia, but couldn't touch the man. Moved to the Bay, moved to Oakland, and finally get to see the man in person. Was like, you know what? This is somebody that I have to par up with. This is somebody that I have to make sure that, I get that worldly wisdom from. So once again, shout outs to Abba, and thank you for, just being here and sharing some of that wisdom.
Yeah, man, it's good. It's good to be here. The part you missed out on was that you knew my sister from Philly.
That part of the story I totally left out. So yeah, I was doing artwork for Abba Yahudah's sister right there. What was the name of the shop?
Rastafari
Reality.
Reality.
Yes,
Yeah.
Rastafari Reality.
Yeah.
And she was, a beautiful woman, but a hard nut to crack. She was not easy to please. So I remember doing some artwork for her, and she was like, yeah, that looks so-so, but my brother. And I was like, all right, well, can you please? This is before I even really knew the connection between you and her. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do my best, but her brother must be some hell of an artist because she keep referring to this man.
Yeah. Yeah, we grew up in Jamaica. I had done a portrait of her, kind of reminiscent of the Mona Lisa in Jamaica as we're youths. And it was like a huge oil painting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have no idea where that painting is right now. But living on the East Coast and indulging deep into the fine art realms. I remember walking through Soho with my portfolio, and no gallery was interested in my work. That's before you feel like you have to understand how these galleries work, like what you're looking for, and actually who's looking for you.
Yeah.
I was just fishing. I wanted to see, But I ended up in Williamsburg. I left Hell's Kitchen in Manhattan and ended up in Williamsburg.
Brooklyn.
And that was before Williamsburg became this huge metropolis that we know it as today. But back in those days, the art scene over there was it's just mostly people like myself who were just looking to get away from expensive rent in Manhattan and finding space to paint. And that was the real reason, because I was living in Hell's Kitchen in a small apartment on 48th Street and 8th Avenue. And it was just not enough light, not enough room to paint. And I just mentioned, I was like, I need to find a new place. And so ended up in Williamsburg, and I've never even heard of Williamsburg. Never even heard of that part of Brooklyn. And it was just across the street from Delancey Street, where I used to go all the time shopping, But the art scene in New York was very intense, because you had a lot of artists and you had a lot of different outlets, but the outlets that we had in Williamsburg, Brooklyn at that time were the outlets that we created.
You had to create them.
We created those outlets, meaning like if there's an abandoned building, we're taking that over.
Yeah.
There was the mustard factory, which was an abandoned mustard factory, literally. And we as artists back in those days, it was me and Dr. Israel, me and Barney Rebel, who's from Connecticut. Even them days, we had Collard Greens, another local band, and there was like La La Landia, there was Coyote Studios. It was just like, there was a record shop called Earwax, and there was like, there was a Thai Cafe, Planet Thai. That was just, those were our places. But those were places that, in terms of the north side and the south side, they were just filled with artists, from Right Bank, which was a local bar and gallery, which was our fire station. We used to play music there, and we used to show art there.
Yeah.
So I got into this kind of, I was inspired by Laura James.
I was going to ask you.
Is my sister, Rastafarian sister, who is from Antigua.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that introduced me to Ethiopian iconographic art.
Nice.
Yeah, she introduced me to a book called Ethiopian Zion or something like that. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Black cover.
Yeah,
with
black
the,
cover. Yes.
Yeah. I think I
Ethiopian
have
Zion.
it. Yeah.
And I was
Blown away.
blown away. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You didn't get this in school?
No, I didn't. I had no idea that this really existed. And so she was the first person that I knew that was doing this, that was a Rastafarian,
Mm-hmm.
and that was heavily into the study of this kind of iconographic art. And she evolved the style. She created her own style out of it. You know, even though that's just one of the kind of art that she does.
Yeah.
But she is the one that introduced me to it, and we started doing art shows together at Ifiteo Cultural Arts Center downtown, off of Church Avenue in Brooklyn, and that's where I met a whole bunch of other artists. But when I came to California, there was no one in California that was doing this kind of art, and I went crazy into it. I was like, the esoteric aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because there's that part of it, but then there's the scientific, Kabbalistic part of Ethiopic art that is even, they're called magic scrolls.
Yeah.
Tankwai, kind of art. And that is probably have the most influence on my art. But in terms of influence, I would say my influence is Ethiopia in that sense, but my inspiration is all art, all artists. I am inspired by everything, but I try to avoid influence.
Got it.
Influence is when you can look at a person's work and tell what artist
Yeah.
that artist
Watching
is
Kobe Bryant
inspired
play,
by.
he watched Michael Jordan to a T.
Yeah.
It's like you can see
Exactly.
the influence. Yeah.
So it's like influence for me is different from inspiration.
True.
To be inspired by an artist, I'm inspired by all great artists, from Miro to Basquiat,
You have to.
even local artists, local friends like, Wasine Khosrow,
Mhm.
Ethiopian artists, really good people.
Yeah, you're local
I'm inspired
artists.
by your art. I see you, I see your strokes, and I feel the freedom in which you're exercising yourself. That takes skill. A lot of people, you can tell an artist from the stroke. You can tell what level they're at just from their strokes. But I am not. I try to avoid influence. I try to go deep. I'm within.
Mhm.
It's like when I'm writing, I only read what's relevant to my research material.
Yeah.
When I'm painting, I don't do any research. I just go in.
I was going to ask. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about like your process. How do you approach the beginning of a project or a painting, and do you have a specific routine or method to getting to your final product?
Yeah, it all depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing a pencil drawing, that's one thing. If I'm doing iconographic art, like some of the paintings, like the Gatherings, the First Supper, this one here on the wall here, these kind of pieces are different from the abstract work.
Mhm.
I do the iconographic pieces specifically for my people,
Yeah.
as a reminder that you are the foundation of human divinity.
Mhm.
And human divine nature does not exist outside of the African womb.
Hmm.
So I do these pieces as reminders, not just to the Africans in the diaspora, but to Africans in Africa, and
Oh,
in
yeah.
particular Ethiopians.
Yeah.
Because you can see how they deviate from
We all
their
need the
own roots.
reminder.
Yeah,
We all need the reminder.
exactly. But to be reminding the Ethiopians of who they are and why we need them to be and remain
Who they're
who they
supposed
are.
to be. Yeah.
Because it's a preservation of an ideology
Hmm.
that has been appropriated by our oppressors
Yeah.
and have been revamped and fed to us as if it's something new created by Europeans.
Yeah.
You understand? And have been fed to us to believe that there is Christianity that exists in Europe, and Europe is the source of it, and anywhere else that it exists is through European influence.
Mhm.
You know, well, that is not the
We
truth.
see the debates online and,
You
you know,
know?
like the post, and it's like, you know what, you can't take, like you said, reminding people of the origins of their divinity. That proceeds any religion, any dogma, any way of, you know, like theology, just
Yeah.
natural law.
Exactly.
When you're talking about just natural law,
Yes.
how people come into this world.
Yeah.
How
But to answer your question though,
Mhm.
is so when I'm doing those kind of work, I sometimes I have a sketch.
Mhm.
But when I move into the abstraction of my own being, you know, that's when I come to a point of full expression of
Yeah.
my energy. So that is a conversation that is happening between the piece and me. So for example, there's a blank canvas there. If I disturb the silence of that piece with
Mhm.
color, I will sit back and stare at it and start to listen with my eyes. It will start telling me what to do
Wow,
next.
say that one again. I don't think enough people caught that one. You'll
Yeah.
listen with what?
I listen with my eyes,
Madness.
you know, because I broke the silence, but I cannot control the conversation. It's a dictatorship from there on.
I think it's so many artists that
Yeah.
go through that process but can't articulate it the way you just did. What's going on, good people? Andre Jahmora here, and as the executive director of the Bay Area Mural Program, I want to tell you about Chroma Paint. Chroma is our go-to brand, and we want to make sure it's your go-to brand too. Visit them at their website at chromaonline.com. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very familiar space for me because it's meditative.
Mhm.
It's a space where I become a conduit for an energy field, for a spirit possession, so to
Mhm,
speak.
mhm.
And it's a cathartic journey for me.
Hmm.
The piece is the byproduct of a conversation that took place. And when the piece is silent, I have permission to sign it.
Mhm.
But the first thing the piece is going to express is the name of the piece. And the name of the piece is going to be the key for my viewer to get access to that
So
conversation.
you come up with the name first.
I don't come up with the name.
The name comes through the
The
conversation.
name comes through the conversation. The one thing I do, I disturb the piece. Okay, that's what I do. I disturb the pristine whiteness of the canvas. Yeah, I disturb that, and then I sit back and listen to it speak.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, for a lot of artists, and this is why I love hearing people's process, because we all have different process. But some artists will manifest the artwork, have a conversation, but won't name or title the piece until after it's done. But your process is naming the piece and then working within that conversation of that name.
Because that's what that conversation is about.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So even as an artist, you know, we talked about the creative process. Are there any moments of, as an artist through the, sorry, hold on. Are there any art movements or artists from your history that you feel, oh, we already answered that. You already pretty much talked about that. I wanted to go into more or less the conversation I saw posted online where Dame Dash had said something about being a real boss. And he was saying how, you know, I'm not quoting him directly, but in being a real boss, you're always broke because you're always investing in yourself. How do you feel about that quote or about that, you know, that statement?
That's interesting. You know, I guess that is his reality or his truth or his experience. I don't buy into that.
Mm,
The one thing I don't identify with is poverty.
natural.
And on any level. That means, you know, I have already immersed myself in into the depth of a conviction as an artist.
Hmm.
And as I grow, I realize that the society is anti-artist because it's the only profession that they put starving in front of.
Yeah.
And that starving is supposed to discourage you from pursuing art because you cannot make a living from it.
Yeah.
I have decided early in life that I was going to invest in me. Now, if I am broke, that's my fault. But I don't see how I'm investing in me consistently and continuously, and I'm not able to yield a profit on that investment, which means you're investing in the wrong thing then.
Yeah.
Find something profitable to invest in, because you should not be broke if you're investing in you.
No.
You should represent the abundance of that investment.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And even, as you said, you brought up, the starving artist. And, we've had this conversation plenty of times of how we can remove that phrase, that introduction into the word artist, because no other profession has it. Nobody else says starving or struggling in front of their profession. You don't hear starving mathematician or a starving historian or starving engineer. So, really just addressing that aspect of it. What is one way, or, your solution into eradicating that starving in front of the word artist?
Yeah, my solution is my solution. It doesn't solve the problem for other artists.
True.
So you're going to always find artists out there that is going to exemplify and embody the starving aspect of the profession.
But I mean, every profession, you're going to have like I said, starving mathematicians, starving historians.
We're speaking specifically about fine art and performing art, such as music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're always going to find people embody that, because sometimes when you play the victim, you get the attention. Okay. So I don't play the victim.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to do that. I'm not here to roll over. Okay. I dictate my life. And to dictate your life is to take charge of who you are and to see yourself as a resource. And to see yourself as a resource is for you to take the time to develop you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, everything in life that is required of us as human beings has an art to it. To every doing, there's an art.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't find the art of the doing, you're slaving away. Most people are doing that. Most people are doing jobs that they don't feel the passion of. They'd rather be doing something. These people have bumper stickers on their cars that say, I'd rather be fishing. If I'd rather be fishing, I am fishing. That's what I'm doing. Okay? I don't rather be doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
I want to live in the sweet spot of life.
Yeah.
And to live in the sweet spot of life is to find the art of doing. And to find the art of doing is to live in your bliss.
Yeah.
When you're living in your bliss, you're retired. You're no longer working. That means everything you're doing is being done with the passion that is required to give or to yield quality.
Yeah.
So poverty cannot exist in the mind of such a person, because poverty is a mindset.
Yeah.
Okay? It's like, if I gave you $1 million right now, that does not make you a millionaire, because you did not make that $1 million.
No.
You don't even know how to make $1 million.
And how are you going to invest it? And you'll be $1 short of $1 million. You're no longer a millionaire.
Exactly. So you can create in yourself the kind of value that transcend dollar value. Those kind of people are rare, but those kind of people is possible in every individual.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying to you is, I broke that mold of starving by living my best life, regardless of what financial level I am at.
Right. There's the key right there. Whether you have $1 in your pocket, you're still holding your head up high.
Exactly. It's the quality of life is there to experience. And you can only experience the quality of life when you have developed in yourself the love for art and the art for doing.
Mm-hmm. So when you're saying the art of doing, back to that, I really, had a whole heap of just light bulbs pop off. So basically, what you're saying, there's an art to science, there's an art to math, there's an art to
That art
breathing,
is
there's an
science.
art to
That science
existing.
is the art, and that art is the science. You can use those two words interchangeably. If you have not found the art of washing dishes, every time you wash the dishes, you grumble.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fullness of life is to find the art of doing.
Mhm.
And to find the art of doing is to produce art in everything you do. So when I
Ah.
cook, you're not going to get a better meal because it's like I'm painting.
Yeah.
People think, oh, he's a great painter or he's awesome at painting. I'm awesome at cooking.
You're finding the art
Yes.
in everything.
Yeah. Everything that I do it with the best of my ability. And if everyone was to do that, you would get more quality and more substance in life. When you buy a product, when you purchase a service, whenever you spend your hard-earned money, you're always going to be getting quality because everybody is doing what they're passionate about.
Yeah.
If I'm making shoes because I love to make shoes.
Mm-hmm.
This is my passion. You're not going to get a better pair of shoes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You see, that's what you want in society. You don't want the shoemaker to become a policeman.
Right. Not gonna work.
No. No. And that's when you realize that the carpenter's value is equal to the doctor's value.
All right. And the teacher.
And the teacher's value is equal to the lawyer's value.
All right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now we're talking.
Yes. And you can only get that when everyone is doing what they're passionate about.
Living in their
But
purpose.
you don't have to be choosing one particular thing because that's not what life is about. I realized that my life growing up in Jamaica as a youth, that you're going to have to wash dishes, you're going to have to rake the yard, you're going to have to cook, you're going to have to do all these things. You can't just draw. And I was like, oh yeah? I'm going to find the art in sweeping the yard.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't want to sweep the yard? Okay, I'll sweep the yard. Watch me sweep the yard and see if you don't want to sweep the yard too.
Yeah, it's an art to everything.
You start wanting like, man, you made that look so
look good.
Pull some Tom Sawyer on you.
Yeah, some
You know
reverse
what I'm saying?
psychology.
But that is what it is. It's finding the joy in the doing.
Yeah.
And knowing that what you're doing is essential to the entire movement of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is insignificant.
Mm-hmm. And everything is interdependent and connected.
Exactly.
So that brings me to challenges and, overcoming. So has there been any moments in your life, specifically your art career, that has been a challenge or something that, a scenario or a situation that you really faced and it was like, boy, I don't even know if I can be an artist or if this is even for me? Any challenges that you faced in your art career?
Is this really, that is a good question, but it's a difficult question at the same time because for me, when I say I'm an artist, I'm not saying that I'm a fine artist. Understand? That means at any given time, even if I'm not painting, I'm doing art.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Everything is art. And life is going to give you challenges. If you're at the table, you're going to get served. If you're alive, you're at the table.
Mm-hmm.
If you're at the table, life don't care who you are. Life going to serve you up. What's important is how you respond.
Yeah.
To what's happening. Most people react. And reaction is natural, but it is also instinctive.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to function on instinct. You can function from strategy. That means you don't react, you respond. And you respond only by processing it and weighing things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you respond. There are times when you will have to react.
Yeah.
You can't be thinking about it. Okay? A lot of people, a lot of challenge that people have is that they force things. If I don't feel like painting, I'm not painting. I only paint when I feel.
Yeah. And then you don't have to force yourself into that
Yeah.
box of saying, well, I'm an artist, I have to create art.
Yeah, I'm always creating art.
Yeah.
That's what my doing is.
Well, but you're not always painting. I don't have to be a
Exactly.
painter in order to classify myself as an artist.
Exactly. And that is the point. Fine art is our first love. It's our first means of communication. Everybody was
Natural.
born doing what I do, what you do.
Yeah.
Some people just stop doing it
Yeah.
because starving is in front of it. And it's the first thing to get cut from curriculums in schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is how the environment in which we are is viewing art and how they create the world around it that create the challenges that artists face. Artists don't have no problem, but the world want us to have problems. You understand? So artists don't care. They're going to do their art, but the world around them says, nope, what make you think you can just do that?
Mm-hmm.
You need to think about paying bills, alimony, palimony, and mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Like Uncle.
That is what kills your
Yeah.
art.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
stifling.
It's
And it's so interesting because
Those are the challenges.
I was talking
Bills.
with Bobby Arte. Shout out to Bobby Arte, local Oakland artist, phenomenal with the airbrush and spray can
Mhm.
paintbrush. But he got into real estate, and he's selling real estate all throughout California now. Him and his brothers and sisters, they got a phenomenal family team. But he came back after a couple $1 million worth of real estate sales, and was just like, Dre, did you know that selling art is the hardest thing in the world to try and sell?
Mm.
And it didn't really dawn on me because, like you said, I'm passionate about this. I love painting. I love creating. But I never really put it in perspective that it's easier to sell houses. It's easier to sell water. It's easier to sell camels
Mhm.
than it is to sell paintings.
Yeah.
So the challenge of even just that societally, just the uphill battle that artists have to face, even though we all love art, we all love colors. Like you said, we all started off painting and drawing before we knew our alphabets, before we knew how to
Yep.
count. We were all artists.
Art is fundamental.
All right.
I mean, if you're going to study a civilization, what are you studying? And
Their
the
art.
artifacts.
You have to. If you really want to know,
Those are the facts.
you start with their art.
Yeah.
Before you go into their politics, before you go into their, you
Yeah.
study their art. What were they
Because-
wearing? What were they
yes.
thinking? What were they
Yes.
dressed in? What were they?
Yes. It defines the level of their civilization.
Yeah.
So when you're living in a society that undermines art and do all the things that they do to artists to kill their passion, and just from the record industry to fine art realms, how many artists have they killed? You know what I'm saying? They are the ones that create the struggle. The
Mhm.
struggle is not there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The challenges that we face is just natural as people. That's living. You're at the table, you're going to get served. But if you decide to pursue your passion in a way that is going to make you a hermit, there's no support system for you because that's going to cost.
Yeah.
Why should it cost you to be passionate? These are the people we are supposed to be supporting. That's where you get the gifts from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They move into their passion. I mean, back in the day, an artist was a hermit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But our artists were also more revered because they understood that this was the person that helped to create the society that they lived in.
Realize their thoughts.
Realize
and
they thought,
aspirations.
express what it
Yes.
is that you were thinking.
Yes. From the architect. That's why, to me, that's why I do all these things. I make music, I write, I design. I didn't go to school for fine art. I went to school for design,
Mm-hmm.
So industrial design, illustration, graphic design, all of those kind of things. Life requires art.
Yeah.
And there's nothing in society that does not reflect art.
Everything.
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 So to answer the question and to seal it up is to understand that if you don't find the passion in all the different aspects of art and develop a complete human being in yourself, because you're the piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really the work.
Yeah.
The work is you, and it's really self-development. In self-development, we will do everything skillfully. Not everyone has a knack to do everything, but a lot of what we would consider to be talent is learned behavior.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we have this possibility and this potential that is so vast. It's a universe of potential. If you develop all of that real estate, you just become God in its completeness.
All right. And then you study and master the art of multiple things.
Exactly. So the art of our divinity is really at the root of our search, our quest.
Not true.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
You
I
know?
love that.
Because remember, in a God, they say creator.
The creator. And now
Creator.
within that whole realm of, the creator and us being, many creators, we move into this technological realm of AI and AI art and chat GPT and, just the conversations around whether it's helpful or hurtful. How do you feel about AI art, and is AI art really art? And art, can you call yourself an artist if you create, using AI?
We've always used AI. AI has been around us for a good while now, for decades, top of decades. Artificial intelligence is nothing new. The level of artificial intelligence as it's been introduced to the fine arts or to the creative realm is been updated beyond anything we've ever seen before. So now we're living in a time where every individual job is being threatened. So when we're looking at artificial intelligence, let's go deep into this. World War II, right? Artificial intelligence was being used to mass produce weapons of mass destruction. Germany, for example, was using machinery to create machines. Yeah, right? So if you have a forklift, that's a form of artificial intelligence. The thing that humans used to do or can do, you've created a machine to do that thing. You're creating artificial intelligence. And even if you have to man it, it's only a matter of time before you're refining that invention to become so sophisticated
It can
that
man itself.
it can man itself. Okay. So
Do
now
that and man itself.
man itself. Okay. So now we have managed that.
And now we've managed that.
So think about the amount of jobs that were lost with the development of machinery replacing factory laborers.
Yeah.
Okay.
For decades now.
In the late 1800s, a form of movement started that when you hear the term rage against the machine, it came out of that revolution where the Luddites, there was a group of weavers back in England who decided that when they brought in the weaver machines and all of that, that they were trying to, one, undermine skilled laborers, and take their jobs, kill their livelihood. These were artisans. They considered what they do art. Right? And for the machine to come in and thinking about this, these machines were not like these machines today.
No.
But we're talking about AI. When we're talking about AI today, we're talking about something specific.
Yeah.
But let us talk about AI on a broader level, so we understand that it's not something that was just forced on us overnight. I just came up like that.
Yeah.
It is something that we have been working on, so to speak, as human beings, trying to refine the machine to the point where the machine become the replacement. Now, if all those factory jobs were lost based on weaving machine coming into place, and then the Luddites rise up against the machine and started breaking into factories and smashing these machines and breaking them, and then it became a political thing.
Yeah.
Right. So now the politicians were against the Luddites, and the Luddites were against the rich merchants who were introducing these machines to now take over where these artisans had taken years to develop their skills, and now they're being replaced. Let's move to this time. What make artists think that their job is any safer than the weavers?
Full circle.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yes, they're coming for you. Okay? And they're going to do it in a way that keep you a part of the loop. Because ultimately, they're not trying to create artificial intelligence as a singular entity. They're trying to fuse human tissue with that same intelligence. So basically what's happening is they're trying to create iPhones out of human beings, so they can get upgrades. So human beings can be upgraded because we're the only analog thing left.
Think about that.
Think about that. We're the only analog thing left. So you don't have to be analog, man. You can be digitized. Why don't you just take the chip? Right? And you can get an upgrade every so often.
And I feel like that's the important conversation, is knowing that in order to have an artificial intelligence, you have to have a natural human intelligence, and how important that is, because without human intelligence, artificial intelligence doesn't exist.
Oh, well, listen to it. Artificial intelligence is an oxymoron unless artificial intelligence can update itself, upgrade itself, replicate itself without you.
Right.
It should not be called intelligence if it cannot do that. But guess what? It can. It can do that. So my take on AI is that...
Are you an artist struggling to sell your artwork? I know the feeling. I've been there, so much so that I decided to publish a book, The Art of Articulation. This book will help you not only navigate the art world, but give you the vocabulary to step into a room with confidence so you can sell your artwork. Pick up this book on Amazon today.
Certain technologies should be regulated by the government, and certain technologies should remain tools. Now, when I say tools, I mean in the hands of analog people.
Skilled laborers.
Skilled laborers. So that they know how to use the tool is one thing, but knowing how to use this level of artificial intelligence means that you become not an artist, but a programmer.
You had said this to me the other day, and I thought I was like, this is brilliant, because it's like, yes,
Yeah.
you can create designs and artwork using AI that are phenomenal. I've seen some of these on Instagram and on social media where I'm like, why am I even painting anymore? Look at this. AI can create this in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
Right? But I feel like the human aspect will never be replaced, because what an art collector wants to see and feel is the connection that they have, not only with that painting, but
you're
to
saying
the actual
art.
artist.
You're saying you're using the word art collector in what you could call a draconian way. Yeah. So basically, art collector today are all of the NIF or TIF or whatever they call these things. It's like the new coin, all of these kind of things, Bitcoin, all of this kind of stuff. These are the new collectors.
Yeah.
The new collectors are collecting these things.
Mm-hmm.
So AI is going to be producing things that these collectors are going to be placing value on.
That's the thing, but non-fungible, like as an NFT, for example, like it has to be something AI can replicate multiple. And in order for it to be rare,
it has to be singular.
It has to be singular.
But the one thing that I have to look at with the development of creative technology is that it is it can only make analog work more valuable.
That's what I feel. It makes it more rare because you
More
can
rare.
create multiple AI images
Yes.
with no
Yeah.
signature on it. But now to have an Abba Yahudah painting
Yeah.
where you might have only painted 100 paintings in your
Yes.
lifetime,
Yeah.
and 100 years from now, who else can get or say that they have an Abba Yahudah painting?
Yeah.
I can get multiple AI artworks 100 years from now.
Yeah. And you can make NFTs from them.
Yeah. But they won't have that, that rare and that authentic error or that human.
But you wouldn't care.
touch.
You wouldn't care because guess what? Both markets exist.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
going to be the collector who wants analog
Yeah.
pieces, and then you're going to have that guy that wants the NFT.
Same way people still
right?
collect albums.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not a popular, but it's
There's
still
a place for it.
it's a
There's
place
gonna be
for it.
there's for one thing for sure is we're not going back. AI, artificial intelligence is going to be continuously being developed with each generation, and we're going to find places. It's going to streamline its way into our daily life. We're going to use it, and we're going to act like it we can't live without it.
We already use it.
We're
Anyone
already
who
using
uses
it.
GPS, anybody
All
who
of that
uses
kind of stuff, Google, all of that kind of stuff is AI. But what I'm saying to you is, in terms of fine art, we're going to have to roll with it. Because remember back in the 80s, right, when in certain software tech came into the music industry, people didn't know what to do. A bunch of musicians lost their jobs,
Yeah.
and then you have all these
So now you have a beat
synthesizers.
machine. Now you have a
And-
synthesizer.
but it took a whole decade for us to master that and realize that, it's not that we don't need the musicians. We need to know how to work
Do
it
both.
together,
Yeah.
because that's what happened. And in that experimental age, guess what happened? Club was created,
New sounds.
techno was created, dancehall was created, hip hop was created.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So yes, this is how technology helps shape culture and influence culture.
Mhm.
Because we, as the analog aspect of all of the highest tech that ever existed, is still going to be in the mix, because we are the ones here developing this for our use. And so we have to keep that perspective that this is here for our use, hence it is a tool. The instant it is no longer a tool, then we're in a problem.
Yeah. So, as we kind of wrap up the conversation section of this podcast, we definitely want to still get you on the canvas and, just be able to see that conversation you were talking about with you on the canvas. Just one of the last questions, as far as influence and legacy, what impact do you hope that your work has on, the world, your viewers, your immediate friends and family that support you?
I have very little ambition, I'm just to let you know that.
No, come
Yeah,
on,
I know one thing. I want to be an example of what is possible if you just make the choice.
Simple.
I choose to be me. That's the one thing I'm good at. You know what I mean? So I want to impart to up and coming artists, to the next generation, that live the life you love and love the life you live. Be you, because you are the gift. The gift that you came here to share is actually you. It's not being like somebody else. It's not being inspired or influenced by somebody else, but sharing your soul. And the only way you can do that is to develop yourself and to know who you are enough to start sharing that as soon as you can. So, like I said, I started this 7 years old. I came to that recognition. I was like, I'm claiming this.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
I have no limits. None. I don't put any limits on myself, so I don't put limits on people. So as far as I'm concerned, anybody can do anything. I'm never surprised, really, by the things that people do. And one of the things that keeps me inspired is to see the amazing things that people are doing throughout the world
Yeah.
with just their creative genius. I mean, that's one of the great things about but the internet, being able to see. It's so humbling to see some of the artwork that people are doing, some of the things that they're spending their time creating, and it's
Mhm.
just keeps you in a space of humility
Yeah.
and inspired
Yeah.
at the same time. So I want to be able to inspire people to be themselves, to say, just be yourself, because that's the gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you heard it here, live with Abba Yahudah, the art of life, pretty much. So we're gonna ask you to grab some colors and see what it is that you can bless the canvas with, and let's get into that conversation a little bit. So Abba, you think your style has evolved over the years, or do you feel like you still
It evolved over the years.
yeah?
I
have
think
to?
it's important to be consistent, but it's important to break out of boxes. So you don't want to, you can do something. What I try to do is evolve my work, meaning like you can see some of the first work that I did with the old style that I did with the new style together. It's like you can see the transition.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
The
not like
growth.
I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of you seeing that. But
As far as subject matter.
yeah, I don't feel at home doing work that makes me feel like I'm trying to do something new.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying to. I approach the canvas and something new will come out,
Yeah.
and it will be based on the direction that the work wants to go. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm not trying to control it, because it's hard to control and not look stiff.
And then that's where the frustration
Yeah,
kicks in.
that's
'Cause
where frustration
you have
comes from.
expectations now.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
supposed to look like
Yeah,
Picasso. It's supposed to
exactly,
look like
exactly,
Kiende. It's supposed to look like
exactly something.
you're telling your mind it's supposed to look
Yeah.
like something.
You start having ambition, and you're no longer a vessel or a conduit.
Right. So as far as cannabis now, how important is cannabis in the creative process or your creative process?
Well, cannabis have its own energy. When I discovered it, I was 27, 28 years young, and it transformed my life. I realized it was something that I was missing. That was missing, because it really put me in a space like who I am. I can go deeper into me.
Yeah.
It
opens
didn't-
that portal into yourself.
Yes, it didn't take me away from me. It encouraged me. It emboldened me. It did something to me that made me feel like it nurtured my creativity.
Yeah.
So when I'm writing, the writing is intense. It's like my clarity, it's like hyper. My hearing, everything is just it's a different vibe, man. It's a different vibe.
It's more in tune. It's like an affirmation
yes,
for your body.
Yes, it's like it awakened something inside of me that it knew. Yeah, it's just like, I know you. Yeah. So, and then when I'm working, I do a lot of sitting down, just burning and listening with my eyes, and that becomes essential. The herb is definitely an aid into that realm.
Yeah, man. Frees up and opens that portal.
Yeah, definitely.
So when can we expect the next Abba Yahudah exhibition, or be able to see some of your work? Matter of fact, let's start off with, where could we see some of your work currently, right now? If we wanted to go and check out some of your work, where could we check it out?
Well, you can check it out at Oakstop. You can always find my work at Oakstop. Downtown Oakland, uptown Oakland.
Tell us a little bit about Oakstop. For people that don't know, what is Oakstop?
Well, Oakstop is a community hub. It's a platform and a launching pad for various levels of business entrepreneurship, or people's vision. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be. It could just be space where you wanted to come every day and work. You can get a membership, or you can get an office. You can rent space for your functions. We provide space, and we partner up with different entities to make things happen.
Nice.
We are black owned and black run, because the whole idea is to develop a generation of youths, and we work with a lot of youths that will be able to understand the corporate world on multiple levels.
Nice.
So it's kind of like a training camp in a lot of ways. A lot of
For
people,
business.
yes, for
Yeah.
business, but also for the education of building a administrative mind in our community. So.
And you all are very supportive of the arts. I've seen, plenty of exhibitions over at Oak Stop, not only just your work, but of plenty of local artists, international artists.
Yeah.
So I love how Oak Stop supports the arts. Shout out to you and Trevor for
Yeah,
making
man.
that
Everyone
happen.
at Oak Stop basically is an artist in some form. Everyone.
And so next question. When can we see the next Abba Yahudah
Yeah.
exhibition,
Well, I have a
one-man show?
Yeah, I have some new work that I've been nursing. But I would love to do a show next year.
Next year, 2025?
Yeah.
You heard it here first. 2025, Abba Yahudah live show. We
Yup.
can't miss it. Full
Yeah.
support.
Yes, that's so. I'll have a body of work, a whole new body of work that I don't post works that I'm working on. That's one thing I don't ever do.
No, that's how the haters start to steal your style.
Yeah, and if you want to see it, you're gonna have to come at the opening.
Yeah, I see it analog. You
Yeah.
see it? The art of life, analog, come in person if you want to see the work. And then the first Abba Yahudah mural in the Bay Area. Do you have a mural here in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I have murals here. I mean, when I came to the Bay Area, what I did was paint 2 murals.
Straight.
I wasn't me though. I was asked to help some students.
No, we want an Abba Yahudah mural out
No,
in the
there's
world.
no Abba Yahudah mural. There was a bicycle mural. There's a mural right now that's supposed to be in the high school of Berkeley High, in the hallways of Berkeley High. When I came here in 1998,
That was the
I
first.
painted those.
Okay.
With Matthew Wakeman.
Yeah, we need an Abba Yahudah mural out in the world, man. That's one of my goals, is to try and bring the world an Abba Yahudah mural that they can
We
just
can
see
make that
anytime.
happen for sure.
But we know we got to put it up high, because we know you don't par with graffiti artists and then vandalism. And so we want to make sure it's protected, but something that you don't have to enter into a gallery or a locked up space to see.
Nah, I think that would be a great idea. I mean, even if it's one of the older works,
Matter of fact, speaking of Oak Stop, my first chance. So let's see. I've known Abba Yahudah's work for almost 2 decades now. Met him about a decade ago. And we had the opportunity, so that's 20 years. We had the opportunity to paint for the first time last year, 2023. So even as much as I looked up to this man's artwork, and as much as, I aspire to get close to the inspiration and the mind behind the artwork, I dared not ask to paint with the man. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just watch from afar and just study. And the opportunity came last year, 2023, where Trevor had requested a mural inside, and I was like, this is the opportunity. Is this going to be it? Trevor wanted me and I think Rachel Wolf to work on the mural. And Abba said, you know what? This thing have to look proper and it have to look a certain way, so let me step in. I was like, yes, finally, finally. And let me tell you, this man right here is, like he said, he's a Renaissance man, not just an artist, not just a fashionista, but this man is a real scientist. I mean, if you sit there and watch, no paint. This man is the opposite of me. When I paint on everything, fingertips, shoes, pants, hair. When Abba paints, it's methodic. It's very intentional. No paint goes anywhere other than where it's supposed to on the canvas. So, in those for those of you that actually study and know like traditional Ethiopian artwork, the priests and the monks of the church would do these canvas and mural paintings inside the church and would wear all white. Number one, how they would keep their outfits all white, even with the dirt and the dust, is beyond me. But then these men would paint for hours, if not for days, and their garments would still stay white.
Yep.
So Abba is like one of these men, one of these Abuna. When he's painting, it's like a whole spiritual, holy process where paint only goes where it's supposed to. So I love it. I respect it. I've tried it. Everybody know me.
Try everything
I put
once.
paint where it ain't, and it end up in all places.
Well, you know, I was growing up in Jamaica, man. I learned to draw first, and that was cheap because, you know, pencil and paper, you know, you can
Come by.
You know what I'm saying? It's easy, but once you move into paint, paint is expensive.
Yeah.
You don't have no paint to waste.
And it creates an addiction.
Yeah.
Because of the colors.
Yep, and you can't waste it.
And you can't waste it.
Can't
and as
waste
soon
it.
as you run out, you have to, like, you see that yellow?
Yep.
When yellow run out, what are you going to do to
Yeah,
mix yellow?
exactly.
How are you going to get yellow?
Exactly.
You have to go and get another hit.
Exactly. So that's all the things that
The politics of art, a tough one.
politics.
How political is art?
Art has always been
Should it
politics.
speak to current events?
Yeah. The thing about art has always been political, man. You know, it's a way. Remember, there was a time when there were no cameras, and
Yeah.
propaganda material was always a part of politics.
Yeah.
You know, and
Uncle
so,
Sam,
yeah, man, you have to have
Rosie the
artists,
Riveter.
yeah, making posters and creating illusions. You know, because that's what artists do. So art should remain political in the sense that it should
Does it have a
speak-
choice?
Yes, it all depends on the level of luxury
Hmm.
that you have as
True.
an artist. You know, if you are not using your art to speak volumes, your own political beliefs, then what are you using your art to do? You know, and most people do that. You know, they find ways. It doesn't have to be overt. You know, it can be covert as well, and it still speaks. But art has always been political. It is always speaking truth to power in some sense.
Yeah.
And the artist has always been rebellious because the artist has always been on the mind. He's always found himself or herself in the minority. So art has always been a way for artists to kind of give the finger to politics in some ways. Yeah. You know, it's a way of doing that.
Yeah.
And we haven't changed, you know. And one of the most popular artists out of Europe is Bansky, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what is he using his art to do all day?
Cause chaos.
Chaos. So there it is. You know, there it is. Nice, thank you. Yeah.
And then it was interesting. I was watching a post of Dregs One. Shout out to Dregs One. He's got a dope podcast. And just highlighting the street artist of the Bay Area, the music scene, everything Bay. But he had made he had a lecture, and he was just talking about how graffiti, people complain about how it's such a nuisance, it's an eyesore. But he made the amazing point that billboards are an eyesore. He didn't ask, or nobody asked the community if they wanted, cigarette billboards or lawyer billboards or billboards about just the most random things that have no application to that specific community. But yet whoever had the money was able to just throw that up there. So it was, it just made a great point, and there was a lot of pushback and a lot of people that just like, of course, are anti-graffiti. I've always been a lover of graffiti. You know, I love it for that specific point alone, just because it's anti-systemic. You know, it's a pushback to the status quo. It's a freedom of expression. I feel like it's one of the last arts that you truly can't control. You know, where, you know, like everything else, a lot of commercial art, a lot of, you know, even the murals that we do, somebody has influence or input into it, which isn't a bad thing, because a lot of times we're looking at trying to get that community input. We want to know what the community would like to see every day, especially in neighborhoods that we don't live in immediately. But for the graffiti artists, you know, I love the fact that it's like, this is how I feel, this is what I want to say. We just did a collaborative project up at the old skate park in Berkeley, right next to the old CVS. And we brought together probably about 30 graffiti artists from different crews, TDK, X Vandals, Aerosol, a whole bunch of individual writers. You know, cats that don't normally paint together, but it was just amazing production, and the quality of artwork and the inspiration that I even got from it, just even painting with these cats, I don't feel that I would have found in a gallery. You know, these guys are painting from the heart, paying for their supplies out of pocket, no sponsorship, and really can tell that these cats have studied not only just graffiti, but, you know, proportioning, typography, fading, shading, like all of these aspects that you would normally associate with, you know, a learned degree. These cats have got it. You know, so, you know, just shout out to, you know, just the whole idea and notion of, you know, using your art as a vehicle, as a means to express, you know, your, you know, political stance, or even just your, you know, social stance. A lot of the pieces even that were just done on the CVS, you know, it was great because we had a skateboarding theme because it's right next to the skate park in Berkeley. But I think it was like 3 or 4 pieces that went up where cats put, you know, the skater, but the bottom of the skateboard was in the Palestinian colors, you know, red, black, green, and white. And it's like brilliant the way he, you know, just threw it in there so subtly, but, you know, you felt his message behind it. So yeah, it's that being able to express and speak out without any inhibition, without any concern of who's going to like it, dislike it, but really this is just how you're feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
Wow, what an amazing episode. We're so honored to be able to have Abba Yahudah here in the studio, get some live painting, and have a really meaningful discussion just about the art of life. So, Abba, thank you. Any closing words? Any last thoughts?
Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to more dialogue
Yeah.
around art. I believe it's necessary, not just because it's cathartic, but because a lot of people have that interest too. They, you know, it inspires others, and that's ultimately, you know, what we want to do, is to influence and inspire people
Yeah.
to go deeper into their own craft and their own art and find their sweet spot.
It's like you said, we all, that was our initial form of expression.
Yes.
Before anything else, we were all doodling, creating.
Yep.
So just reminding people of that, I think, is a very important message, and definitely want to make sure that listeners at home, the viewers, are able to really just be able to digest this, watch this over and over again, and really just get the solid message that Abba Yahudah is sharing with us today. So thank you all at home, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Next time.
Give me the paint, give me the chalk, give me the urban artist talk. Give me the paint, give me the chalk, give me the urban artist talk.
Hey, beautiful art community. Thank you for watching another episode. Be sure to subscribe to Urban Artist Talk. Your subscription will help us to bring on more guests. We would love to hear your comments below. Thank you. We'll see you on the next episode.